Coach Signetti is going to look back on this game with a lot of regret. So the bottom line for me is Ohio State, they weren't blitzing early in the football game, right? Especially on that first drive. Clean pocket, all day to throw for Rourke, and they did whatever they wanted to do. Now, obviously, they were helped out by a couple of defensive pass interferences, which, by the way, were not tight calls. When you are grabbing somebody's jersey with one hand, you have your other hand wrapped around him, hugging him. You're not looking back at the football. Folks, that's pass interference. That is not calling it tight. That is not setting a precedent. That is pass interference. I don't know what the hell Klatt was looking at, but it is what it is. They made the adjustments. Second quarter, they started blitzing. They started overloading one side of the field. They were disguising it. Rourke wasn't seeing what was going on. And then Indiana kind of started to run the football. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, they're making adjustments. They're going to start making that defense creep up and play against the run, and they're going to be able to throw over the top. But they never did that. Signetti is going to be upset that he never fully adjusted to the run game. And look, when all is said and done, Indiana, they beat themselves. Even though their defense played phenomenal. They forced turnovers. They played great. They were in the backfield for the most part. They really weren't allowing the run game at the beginning of the game to take any type of shape. But, Rourke and the offense, they just could not get things going. And even though the run game should have been there for Indiana, and it would have been there for Indiana, for whatever reason, they just chose not to stick with it. And I think for me, that's the bottom line to this game. Obviously, you had the muff punt, right? Then, of course, you had the kick or the punt return back for a touchdown. So special teams hurt you, a place where Indiana has typically been strong all season. But when they got down 21-7, you could just tell there was a massive shift on that sideline. They looked defeated already, and they looked like they didn't feel like they could beat Ohio State anymore. Their confidence went from maybe to zero. That's all there is to that. There was a play, early first quarter. They could have gone up to me 14-0. If Rourke would have been just a little bit more patient in the pocket, the seam route was there. And he probably would have gone all the way because they were creeping down. For a while there, they were daring Indiana to throw the football deep. And they were doing it and they were taking advantage of it, but they never really adjusted the way that they needed to the blitz packages. Now, as far as Ohio State scoring at the end of that football game, look, your running back goes down. You've only got a few ticks left. Signetti's not calling a timeout. I don't want to hear Ryan Day talking about, it's a tough game and it's top 5 matchup and you never know what could happen. Bro, stop. If you can't kneel the ball down and put the game away right there and magically they score a couple of times and they tie the game up and take it to overtime, at that point, you don't deserve to win the football game. Just be honest and say, look, we felt like they were running their mouth. Our guy did the right thing. I took it a little personally, and I wanted to put the game away late and run up the score a little bit. At least it would have been honest. I mean, come on, man. Jimmy Johnson would run up the score. And he was honest about why. It's not my responsibility to make sure that you guys stop us. I had this play happen with Boston College. We were up big in this game, and they came back on us. Jimmy Johnson was honest. Go back and watch Catholics versus Convicts and see Jimmy Johnson talk about that. At least he kept it a buck. But he also said, it's not our responsibility for you to stop us. You have to do that. Ryan Day could have been a little more honest there. I mean, look, Ryan Day, I think, is an overall pretty good football coach, but I personally don't like him. I don't have a problem with him. I just think that the things that he said about Lou Holtz, that didn't set well with me. This move right here didn't set well with me. He knew what he was doing. That kind of stuff comes back to bite you in the ass, man. That's all there is to it. In terms of Indiana, were they an overhyped football team? I don't think so. I think this loss could potentially help them. sometimes in order to learn how to win in these moments, you have to lose in these moments. He came from James Madison. Now he's in a much bigger conference, much bigger everything, right? This is D1 college football. Much bigger everything. You got to learn how to put it together. Execution problems that were obviously out of his control, but simultaneously, he didn't adjust the way that he needed to. I think he relied entirely too much on the original game plan. When all is said and done, that game should have been a lot closer than it was, but you have to give credit to Ohio State, right? You have to give credit to them because not only did they adjust defensively, but they adjusted offensively. Okay, this isn't working. Let's try this. And that's Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, two offensive-minded guys understanding each other. And it was a great move to get Chip Kelly as an offensive coordinator. And I think that's where he belongs. I don't think Chip Kelly, to me, will ever be a head coach again. If he ever gets another chance, I'll be surprised. He couldn't get it done at UCLA. Close but no cigar when he was at Oregon. Failed miserably in the NFL with the Eagles and the 49ers. I mean, it's not going to work out. But offensively, everything that didn't work, they just kind of started doing other things. At the beginning, I thought Ohio State was a little too conservative. But then they started mixing up the play calling, and they were so much better at adjustments. And this is the type of thing that we always discuss about with coaches, right? Who can make the adjustments? And who can keep their team on a positive note? Look, I talked about it at the beginning of the year when Alabama played Georgia. I felt that Kirby Smart still outcoached Caleb DeBoer, and it wasn't because of game plan or anything like that. It was because when they were down bad, 21-0, you still saw Kirby Smart out there high-fiving his guys, telling him it's okay, keeping everybody involved, never losing his guys, 100% showing, I still have your back. Let's do this. We're fine. We're going to get back in it, one play at a time. They were able to put together a small drive at the end of the first half, and I think that was what got them going. It was just enough to keep their guys, okay, we could do this. We could start making some plays. But at the end of the day, Indiana is going to look back and go, we beat ourselves. And Cignetti, let's keep it a buck. He's going to kick himself in the ass. If the run game is starting to work, the old adage is, look, until they prove they can stop it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep running it down their throats. You've got multiple running backs that you can use that are very similar. They were making plays. It was hard for, even when Ohio State had them in the backfield, man, they were stiff-arming. They were running north and south. They were creating plays. I would have liked to have seen Indiana stick with the run game, but they didn't. And this is where we start separating those coaches. Now, ultimately, do I think this game is reflective of who Cignetti is as a coach overall? No, I do not. Do I think that this game is a reflection at the end of it of who Ryan Day is? Absolutely. Now they got Michigan next week. Still have to win that football game. Indiana needs a Penn State loss along the way in order to stay competitive for the Big Ten championship. But here's the thing. The only thing the Big Ten championship will do is potentially prove that they deserve a second shot, right? But even then, the committee, they can't use the conference championship game as a tiebreaker anymore, as a significant way of voting. They're not allowed to do that. It's just the highest ranked conference champion in terms of the placement. And really, it only follows the group of five, right? It doesn't really do anything for the Power Four because, I mean, they're going to be in. That's all there is to it. But it is what it is. I think, for me, Indiana is going to feel like maybe we shouldn't have won, but we should have been a lot closer than we were. But, games like this, you got to tighten up. You don't have error for a lot of mistakes. Will Howard was still Will Howard to me in that football game. People could talk about how great he played. He played okay. He didn't play great. Indiana's defense played great, but it was the other facets in the game in which they failed. And that's all there is to it. All right, guys, I am Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. I'm wherever you listen to the podcast. Take a device and play Drew Duncan. I am not a needle in a haystack. Everybody stay safe. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of your night and or day.